Hi everyone. So Tulsi Gabbard announced that she was going to run for president in 2020, and immediately the smears started and the attacks were ramped up, and they've been snowballing ever since. And to be fair to Tulsi, every time that she's been attacked so far, she's battered away. And I just want to say this, by the way, would be a bit of a different, I know, you know, aesthetics and the way people look is overrated, but it would be a little different, wouldn't it, having that as the leader of the free world instead of that orange buffoon that it is at the moment, don't you think? It was actually, the scenery, everything was beautiful. It was a wonderful, wonderful speech. And it was about, I think her speech was about 35 minutes long. And it was just bang, 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 bang. Every point was points that were going to affect the ordinary people's lives in America.
As your commander-in-chief, I will work to end the new Cold War and lead us away from the abyss of a nuclear war that could destroy our world in mere minutes. I will end the regime change wars that have taken far too many lives, cost trillions of dollars, and undermined our security by strengthening terrorist groups like Al-Qaeda and ISIS.
Do you think, how many other candidates do you think, on the Democratic side especially, I mean obviously they won't get them in on the Conservatives, but how many on the Democratic side do you think will have a message like that? And do you think that message will resonate more than when we put hope on the ballot, we win? When we lead with our values, we win. Every subject that she attacked in that speech was on point, and every single one of them were things that overwhelmingly the majority of the American people want. And this is why they fear her, and this is why they're attacking her. So this is one of the ways that they attacked her. Russia's propaganda machine discovers 2020 Democratic candidate Tulsi Gabbard. This was NBC. Of course, it was NBC. So this is how they tweeted it out. Russian propaganda machine that tried to influence the 2016 US election is now promoting the presidential aspirations of 2020 Democrat candidate Tulsi Gabbard. Yeah, it's not true, unfortunately, but this is what it said. I know some of you will have seen this already because it's a few days old, but I'll go through it anyway. The Russian propaganda machine, this is from that article in NBC, that tried to influence the 2016 US election is now promoting the presidential aspirations of controversial Hawaii Democrat who earlier this month declared her intention to run for president in 2020. So they're saying the Russian propaganda machine are behind it, okay? And an NBC News analysis of the main English language news sites employed by Russia in 2016 election meddling shows Tulsi Gabbard of Hawaii, who set to make her formal announcement Saturday. So this was just before she did her big announcement. She had already announced a few days earlier on the Van Jones show. Has become a favourite of the sites Moscow used when it interfered in 2016. They don't even put allegedly there anymore. There's absolutely no proof whatsoever to back up that statement whatsoever, but now they just fucking say it. Nobody picks them up on it. Several experts who track websites and social media linked to the Kremlin really have seen what they believe may be the first stirrings of an upcoming Russian campaign of support for Gabbard. Where were these social media accounts linked to the Kremlin? Was it Ian 56 Citizen Halo and Partisan Girl by any chance, was it? Again, idiots. Outing real people as bots. Since Gabbard announced her intention to run, Since Gabbard announced her intention to run on January 11th, there have been at least 20 Gabbard stories on 3 major Moscow-based English language websites affiliated with or supporting the Russian government. I know, it's amazing, isn't it? A woman who is popular announces that she's going to run for president and other countries cover that in the news. It's fucking amazing, isn't it? I mean, there must be propagandists if other countries. It's propaganda right now. I'm in the UK. Oh my God, I'm meddling in a US election. Fucking, do you see how pathetic this is? I mean, this is not the worst part of it either, by the way. I'll get to that in a minute. Since Gabbard announced her intention to run, there have been 20 stories on 3 websites. RT, the Russian-owned TV outlet, Sputnik, a radio outlet, Russia Insider, a blog that experts say closely follows the Kremlin line. The CIA has called RT and Sputnik part of Russia's state propaganda machine. Really? So that's what they say. This is what Glenn Greenwald said. NBC News to claim Russia supports Tulsi Gabbard relies on firm just caught fabricating Russia data for the Democratic Party. Really? Really? And now you're employing the sister of Kamala Harris, NBC. I'm sure your reports are going to get much more fair and balanced, aren't they? NBC News published a predictably viral story on Friday. Of course it was viral, same as the Luke Harding bullshit article, that went viral as well. Claiming that experts who track websites and social media linked to Russia had seen stirrings of a possible campaign to support for Hawaii Democrat Tulsi Gabbard. But the whole story was a sham. The only expert cited by NBC in support of its key claim was the firm New Knowledge. We have known all about them for a few weeks now, which just got caught by the New York Times fabricating Russian troll accounts on behalf of the Democratic Party in the Alabama race to manufacture, you know, some sort of crap, basically. I missed out the last bit of that, but here's what the article says in depth. Let me just move that from the side so you can see it properly. To justify its claim that Gabbard, as the Kremlin's candidate, NBC stated, analysis at New Knowledge, the company the Senate Intelligence Committee used to track Russian activists in the 2016 election, told NBC News they spotted chatter. It's like an episode of 24, related to Gabbard in anonymous online message boards, including those known for fomenting right-wing troll campaigns. They love that word, don't they? Fomenting. They're fomenting discord. What NBC amazingly concealed there is a fact that reveals its article to be a journalistic fraud. The same firm, New Knowledge, was caught just 6 weeks ago engaging in a massive scam to create fictitious Russian troll accounts on Facebook and Twitter in order to claim that Kremlin was working to defeat Democratic Senate nominee Doug Jones in Alabama. The New York Times, when exposing the scam, quoted a New Knowledge report that boasted of its fabrications. We orchestrated an elaborate false flag operation that planted the idea that Roy Moore campaign was amplified on social media by a Russian botnet. That's New Knowledge. These were their two sources. Seriously, a guy on Twitter that hunts bots at home in his spare time, and New Knowledge, a company that was just caught trying to rig an election in favour of the Democrats over Roy Moore. This is the media. That fraud was overseen by New Knowledge's CEO, Jonathan Morgan. At the same time, Morgan was fabricating Russia troll accounts and using them to create a fraudulent appearance that Putin was trying to defeat the Democratic Senate candidate, as he was exploiting his social media expertise to claim that Russians were interfering in the Alabama Senate election. Do you see what they're doing here? At the same time, Morgan was fabricating Russian troll accounts and using them to create a fraudulent appearance. What is it Sun Tzu says? I'm sure it's Sun Tzu, isn't it? Accuse the other side of that which you are guilty. It's exactly what they're doing, the Democrats. You can't trust the fucking Democrats in America. You can't trust well, you can trust the Republicans to be evil. You can't trust the Democrats. Oh dear. Where was I? Morgan used his own fake Russian accounts to lie to the public and deceive the internet, the national media, into believing that Kremlin-linked accounts were trying to defeat the Democratic Senate candidate, when in fact the accounts he was citing were ones he himself had fabricated and controlled. So this is, you know, it's basically, I've got experience with internet marketing, as I've said many times. So if I set up let's say I set up a company that I don't know. So I set up a company that said, "Oh, we need to guard your system against these bot accounts," and then attack their system with my bots, and then said, "Hey, you've got a bot problem. I'll take it away for you. I've got you." And they'd say, "Okay, right, okay, we'll pay you," and then I should just stop attacking. That's essentially what they're doing here. They're doing something to fearmonger people into buying a service off them, and then just he should be in prison, this guy did. This is fraud. He should be in prison, but of course, he's a deep state wonk, so he won't be. Even worse, Morgan's firm is behind one of the recent Senate reports on Russian social media election interference, as well as the creation of the infamous Hamilton 68 dashboard, constantly used by US media outlets to claim that its enemies are supported by the Kremlin. That tool has been so abused that even some of its designers urge the media to stop exaggerating its meaning. Even the owners of a Hamilton 68 have said, stop using it. Stop using it to exaggerate what you know, stop it. During the Alabama race, Morgan, in the tweet he deleted once his fraud was exposed, cited the Hamilton 68 data that himself manipulated with his fake Russian accounts to claim that Russia was interfering in the Alabama Senate race. In response to this scam being revealed, can't quite read that, it's a little bit too small. In response to this scam being revealed, Facebook closed the accounts of 5 Americans who were responsible for the fraud. So the people NBC are using, they've been kicked off Facebook for fraud. That's who NBC are using. That article's still up, including Morgan himself. So he's been kicked off as well. The prominent social media researcher who's the CEO of New Knowledge. He also touts himself as a State Department advisor, computer propaganda researcher for DARPA Brookings Institution. Beyond Morgan's Facebook suspension, the billionaire funder and LinkedIn founder who provided the money for the New Knowledge project, Reid Hoffman, apologized and claimed he had no knowledge of the fraud. A victorious Democratic Senate candidate who won the Alabama Senate race, who repeatedly cited New Knowledge fake Russian accounts during the election to claim he was being attacked by Russian bots. Doug Jones, I remember this, insisted he had no knowledge of the scheme and has now called for a federal investigation into them. And I remember he said that this is fake. This is some sort of fake Russian bot thing, and the press derided him for coming up with such a conspiracy. I distinctly remember it. It's mind-blowing. It's mind-blowing. I can't believe I can't believe they can do it and get away with it, and then come down on people like me for spreading stuff that's false. They never mention why it's false. They just say, oh, it's fake news. Why? And can you point to anything? No, it's just fake news. It didn't stop. Like I say, I've had to redo this video because she ran on Morning Joe. I think yesterday morning. Yesterday morning, the day before, I was in bed and I caught it because Glenn Greenwald tweeted it out, and Wallid caught this on Twitter. This is her on Morning Joe. It's 4.5 minutes long. I'm going to have to, I can't just play it all. I'm going to have to stop it in parts. But I will play all of this because it's glorious. Just take a listen.
Do you think Assad is our enemy?
Assad is not the enemy of the United States because Syria does not pose a direct threat to the United States.
Bingo! There you go. Perfect. Perfect answer. Does Iran pose a direct threat to the United States? No. Okay. They're not our enemy. Does Russia? No. Okay. Not our enemy.
What do you say to...
There was quite a pause there after she answered that, wasn't it?
To Democratic voters who watched you go over there, and what do you say to military members who have been deployed repeatedly in Syria?
It's incredible, isn't it? It's incredible. She did brilliantly on this.
Pushing back against Assad.
People who have been deployed to Syria have been there focused on their mission, which has been to defeat ISIS. Our troops have not gone to Syria to wage yet another costly, destructive regime change war. And many troops I hear from express frustration at the fact that our country continues to wage senseless, costly regime change wars, followed by nation-building missions, leading to situations like we see in Afghanistan. So many examples of our troops being deployed, their lives put on the line, without understanding what the clear mission or objective is and how that mission actually serves the security of the American people in the United States.
That is brilliant. That is brilliant. If people hear that, they're going to love it. And I'll get to this in a bit, but that's great. If people can hear that, if people hear that, then she'll get support. And that's the thing, it's hearing it. I don't think the corporate media in America have quite cottoned on to the fact that if you get people on in their own voice who are anti-war, they'll end up being popular and it'll backfire on you. As it's done over here with somebody, I'll get to him in a bit. But this goes on. She was great on this. This is just 4.5 minutes long. It's wonderful.
States.
Which I think a lot of Americans would agree with you there. But again, going back to Assad is not an enemy. Is he an adversary?
What the fuck? Joe, what does it fucking matter? If anything, we should be fighting with Assad against ISIS and Al-Qaeda because that's who he's fighting. They never fucking bring this up on Morning Joe or any of these shows, do they? What the fuck does it... All they are trying to do here is a gotcha question to say, no, Assad isn't our enemy, and then they've got their headline and they can do their bullshit propaganda. That's it. You can see they've gone into that studio with one thing on their mind. Let's get her to say something that can be a headline tomorrow that we can smear her with. That's it.
Of the United States.
We have to look to who poses a threat to the United States and the American
I understand that, but there are a lot of people who don't pose a direct military threat to the United States who consider themselves to be adversaries of the United States.
So fucking what? The United States spends $700 billion on its military. Do you think anybody's going to fuck about with them with a war or anything? You've got problem with terror that's a problem of your own making over the last 4, 5, 6 decades, let's face it. But that's it. Nobody's going to pick a fight with America. They're not fucking stupid. Honestly, you listen to these anchors in America, it's like they think that they think over history, Russia has attacked them every decade for the last 200 years.
Vladimir Putin poses or considers America to be an enemy. We consider Russia to be an adversary.
No, he doesn't, actually. Vladimir Putin doesn't. You listen to Vladimir Putin speak, Joe. He actually calls them our partners in America. He doesn't refer to them as the enemy or adversary at all. Might be adversary, maybe. But he refers to them as our partners in the West. That's what he refers to them as. So that's a bit of a bullshit anyway. Certainly doesn't refer to him as an enemy. I don't know whether he said enemy or adversary there. I've forgotten now.
I'm just asking you, do you consider Assad to be an adversary of the United States?
When I look...
They're just trying to get her to say something so they can write a headline and spare her. That's it.
At whether it's Syria or Turkey or Russia or China or other countries in the world, I look at what are their interests and are their interests counter to our interests.
So what would you say he is to the United States? If you cannot say that he's an adversary or an enemy, what is Assad to the U.S.? What is the word?
He's a president of a country in the Middle East. A president of a country in the Middle East. That's it.
You can describe it however you want to describe it.
I want to know how you describe it.
My point is that whether it is Syria or any of these other countries, we need to look at how their interests are counter to or aligned with ours.
Are Assad's interests aligned with ours?
What are Assad's interests?
Assad seems interested in the slaughter primarily
let me play this.
of his own people, in part. I mean, how does that line up? Survival,
let me start
aligned
that
with
again.
ours.
Are Assad's interests aligned with ours?
What are Assad's?
Are Assad's interests aligned with ours? What are Assad's interests?
Assad's interests.
Assad seems interested in the slaughter primarily of his own people.
Really? That's propaganda, isn't it? That's propaganda, yeah. Assad fought back quite viciously against people who he considered those from outside his country who were starting a coup. He fought back quite viciously against them, and I condemn him for it. Even though, you know, there wasn't much really he could do, and you see what France do. The French police are doing to the yellow vests. I mean, obviously Assad was worse, but you got to say, what do we know with facts from those times? You know, she just says slaughter of his people. You know what? So do fucking Saudi Arabia, you stupid woman, and they're your closest, one of your closest allies. You know? What do you think Israel is doing right now with Palestine? You never bring the slaughter of those people up, though, do you? This is fucking propaganda.
In part. I mean, how does that line up? Survival, yes.
Exactly.
Well, he also
and he seems to be willing to go to great ends to do that.
He also uses weapons of mass destruction on his
adversary.
on
So does America! You fucking idiots! Oh. Which was the biggest weapon of mass destruction ever used in history? Who dropped it? Were the Japanese actually going to surrender? And there was no need for it? Yes. Who used white phosphorus in Vietnam? Who's used white phosphorus in Iraq and Afghanistan? You fucking do. And with regards to Syria, as Tulsi's going to go on and explain, listen, we don't know who used them, and you got to ask, who benefits?
I mean, we can talk about all these things. My point here is...
Is it important to talk about these things? That he uses chemical weapons on his own people?
Of course, of course. It's important to talk about how our military is being used, what it is costing them, what it is costing the American people, and whether or not those missions, those objectives serve the security of the United States and the American people.
So do you think, Congresswoman, there should be any United States troops stationed in Syria?
No?
I don't believe there should be.
None at all.
But if
it's illegal to have them over there. You haven't declared a war. It's illegal. So it's illegal under your own constitution. It's illegal under international law. You're not invited. You're there uninvited. You haven't declared war on the country. It's fucking illegal, Mr. Newsman, who should fucking know these things and actually report on them. Tulsi corrects him.
Again, this goes back to how are we making these decisions? The many leaders in Congress and even leaders in the administration are saying we should keep troops in Syria to counter Iran. There has been no war declared by Congress against Iran. There's no authorization legally for the United States to maintain troops in Syria. So whether it is in Syria or in other parts of the world, we have to determine, are these missions worthy of our service members' sacrifice? And do those missions serve the interests of the American people?
You've expressed skepticism in the past that Assad, in fact, used chemical weapons on his own people. Do you believe he's used chemical weapons on his own people?
Right. First of all, do I believe that Assad has used chemical weapons on his own people? Probably. Do I believe that the rebels have used chemical weapons on the Syrian people in order to point the finger of blame at Assad? Abso-fucking-lutely. That's the 2 points I would say. Tulsi, obviously, she's a bit cleverer than me.
I certainly think it's possible. The evidence that my skepticism in the past has been solely on saying, show us the evidence before you deploy U.S. troops into military action. Because I served in Iraq, and I...
No, can't have that. I'm sorry. You're asking for facts, Tulsi. You're asking for evidence. You are an Assad propagandist if you're asking for facts and evidence. I've just showed you how David Baddiel thinks that anybody asking for facts and evidence with regards to Russia is a Putin puppet, so you're definitely an Assad apologist. I know it sounds pathetic me saying that, but essentially, this is what the press are doing in America. And exactly what Morning Joe are trying to do there. They're trying to get to say something so they can get their headline and smear her, which is too damn good.
Understood what that cost came when the American people were lied to and presented false evidence where we started off a new war.
Do you think chemical...
How often will a presidential candidate bring up the fact that they were lied into a war?
Weapons were used at all in Syria?
Absolutely.
And so if it was not Assad, who would have used them?
There has been reports that chemical weapons have been used not only by the Syrian regime, but by other bad actors and terrorists within Syria.
You know,
Al-Qaeda, Al-Nusra, ISIS, Jaish al-Islam.
There are people who will watch this and have heard your previous comments and wonder what's going on here. Why you met with Assad?
I'm interested in the truth.
Why it looks like you were...
Why you met with Assad, for fuck's sake? Trump's first visit was with Mohammed bin Salman, who went on to be responsible for chopping up a Washington Post journalist. That was his first visit overseas. I give you your mainstream media in America.
Very cozy with Assad and why you've sort of taken his side in this argument.
That
what
is
would you
a
say to
line.
that?
That is a line that comes from political opponents or people who are not interested in actually confronting the truth about U.S. foreign policy, what it should be, and the problems and the cost that has come to us because of this flawed and destructive policy.
That was brilliant. That was Tulsi Gabbard being her brilliant self and deflecting all of those questions away. It was really effortless the way she did it as well. She's very careful with her words, and she's got to be. She's got to be. She's got to be intelligent and careful with her words, because the first slip up, they will be attacking her. And I know this because I've seen it with this guy over here. They do it with anybody in the establishment who is anti-war, and they do it constantly with him. I mean, this was Comrade Corbyn, Corbyn the Kremlin stooge, Corbyn and the commie spy. This is all Russia baiting. Anybody who is anti-war, anybody who is anti-war in the public eye, any politician who is anti-war, and throughout history, they've always attacked them. So Tulsi, I'm afraid, and Tulsi supporters, if you think that this has been bad over the last few weeks, the attacks that she's got in the press and the smears and the slanders by people like Barry Weiss, who, to be honest, she's not even fit to lace Joe Rogan's boots, let alone somebody like Chris Hedges. These smears are going to get worse, and they're going to get more and more pathetic. And you know what? It happened with Corbyn, didn't it, in 2016? They ramped them up. But then all of a sudden, when he got on the campaign trail, he concentrated on broadcast news, and people heard him in his own voice. And if people can hear her in her own voice, first of all, her message with peace is going to resonate with everybody, whatever they are on the political spectrum. Left, right, centre, doesn't matter. Communist, it doesn't matter. Nobody wants war. They all want peace. Just a huge majority. It's like 7 or 8 out of 10 people, something like that. It's going to have cross-party support. And then when you come back to her home policy as well, and you look at the fact that actually she's got some socialist policies, some big socialist policies in her platform, like Medicare for all, like a Green New Deal, for all you people out there who like the marijuana, she's put forward a bill to legalise marijuana. And I honestly, I can't say enough good things about her. I think she is the big hope in America at the moment. And I was hoping that she was going to be the next president back in 2017. So when she announced, I was very happy. But she is going to get attacked more and more and more.
Like so many.
You know what? This sort of thing is why, because she put this out, I think this was out just after she announced on the Van Jones show. And again, enjoy it. This is what I hope the next president of the United States' thoughts on peace are.
Like so many of you, it is painful and disheartening to see how much divisiveness is being fomented by those who wish to tear us apart. We have people in positions of power who are not thinking about the well-being of the people and our planet. Where is that conversation about the needs of our people? Where is the conversation about peace? Every time we launch these interventionist regime change wars, it is not only our veterans who pay the price for that. Every single one of us pays the price. We have spent trillions of your taxpayer dollars to pay for these wars, taking those dollars away from our communities and our people who need them right here at home. We are the ones who have the power to make change. It takes every single one of our hands, our hearts, and our voices, motivated by this love and aloha, to take on those forces and those obstacles that can seem too great to overcome. There is no force more powerful than love. This is how we come together as Americans. This is why we fight for the future that we hope will be so much brighter for those that we care about, for the country that we love.
That was just wonderful. It really was. It was wonderful. It's wonderful to have a candidate, you know, who really does have a shot in America, who is so vehemently pro-peace. I fully support what she's doing. I hope for my friends in America that she gets a shot in 2020 and she gets a shot to enact what her policies are, and the weight of public opinion swamps the establishment. Because that's what it's going to take to actually change anything. Her becoming president alone is not going to change the world. She's obviously going to face massive backlash from the deep state within. It's going to be the people who are going to have to drive this. And I hope they fully get behind her. And I hope that she gets on TV more and more. And I hope that she gets attacked more and more by MSNBC, because every time, and the others in the mainstream media, because every time it's happened so far, she's actually come out on the other side looking better of it. And this is the big thing. She's got cross-party support, and that you just saw is why everybody left, right, centre is against war. It's only a small minority that are pro-war, that the neocons and the neoliberals. The majority of people are pro-peace. We want to end to these wars. And once you actually combine that with her home policies as well, and her progressive policies, it's a slam dunk for me, I'm afraid. And you know what I think might seal it? Bernie hasn't announced yet, and she has spoken to him. I'll wait and reserve judgment, because there are rumours that he is not, I have seen, going to run, which would mean he's going to put his weight behind her without a doubt. We'll see. I still think he will, don't get me wrong, but he hasn't announced yet. So we'll see. But yeah, this is why they're going to come after her, and we've seen it over here with JC. If you're anti-war and you've got any sort of socialist tendencies, hey, the media, the establishment, they're going to come after and they're going to attack you with everything they've got. And remember, in the last election, Jeremy Corbyn, 8 weeks before the election, Jeremy Corbyn was 20 points behind. He was slandered, he was smeared, he was attacked, he was 20 points behind. The campaign started, and he ignored the print media, went straight to the broadcast media, because he knew that people had to listen to her then, in her own words, and her words resonate right across the aisle. Tulsi 2020. I'm really excited. I really hope she wins. For more truly honest, independent media like the video you just saw, please subscribe and click the bell below as well, so you get a notification of when I drop further videos. If you also like and share and comment on the video as well, that really helps with the algorithm and boosts exposure. And if you can support me, please do so. You can do with any of the avenues on the screen at the moment and below this video. You can support me for as little as $1 a month on Patreon, and every dollar helps. We need your support at the moment. We do not have an operating fourth estate. I'm sure you're aware, a functioning media holding power accountable is vital for democracy. At the moment, we haven't got it. So people like me are having to fill their shoes and do the job for them with your support. Thanks very much for your support. Till next time. Peace and take care.